You're listening to the Feed the Soul podcast. We're talking about tackling tough stuff, chasing dreams, and figuring out who we really are. Each episode ends with a word of advice or encouragement, a nugget of inspiration to empower you to dream big and take that leap of faith into the wild adventure of life. Hello and welcome to the Feed the Soul podcast. I'm your host, Savion, and welcome to the first episode. I'm diving right in to a topic that I probably had the most growth in, second most. Let's say most. Most growth with. Today, we are serving failure. I'm diving right in because this is a topic that recently I've really had a change of heart, change of mind, and a reframe. And I'm sure that there's still people out there who were thinking like me, are thinking like I was. And this hopefully can, help you out in changing your mindset and reframing how you think about failure. You may have already gone through this journey, or you're in it right now. If you have gone through it, cool. Big kudos to you. And maybe you've actually never even thought of failure in the way that I am going to share with you. But hopefully you get something out of this episode as well. If not, I would love for you actually to comment what your definition of failure is, or what your experience with failure is. For the appetizer, I want to define failure. This is the Oxford Dictionary definition of failure, and there's 3 different ones that they have. One is lack of success, as in a unsuccessful person, enterprise, or thing, like a crop failure. Their second definition is the omission of expected or required action. So like the failure to comply with the basic rules. And their last definition is the action or state of not functioning, like heart failure. Like I said, this is going to be my experience, my story with failure, and it's not to be a sob story. Again, this is episode 1. We're not trying to do all that in the first episode. But this is part of who I am. And this is something that I've developed, or I've learned from, to get me here to making this Feed the Soul podcast. I think that if I still had my old way of thinking about failure, this would not be happening right now. So let's dive into the main course, this main entree, if you will, failure. How do I define it? I relate to it with the first definition, lack of success, being an unsuccessful person, enterprise, or thing. I grew up hearing this phrase, failure, quote, failure is not an option, unquote. When I look back, I didn't understand what that meant, but what I thought it meant was, literally that, like you could not fail. You weren't allowed to fail. It's not an option. You can be or do anything else when you could have fun. You could technically lose the game, but you also you weren't allowed to do that, which I guess for the most part, win or lose wasn't a big deal either. So I remember after soccer games, my mom would say, "Hey, how did the game go?" And I was like, "Oh, we lost." And she would say, "Well, did you have fun? Because that's all that matters." Which was kind of weird for me to hear, because failure was losing. But then when it comes to sports, maybe it's just about having fun. We really weren't in sports for win or lose. We were in sports to run out all the energy. I believe in it was something that we enjoyed doing, made community, we made friends. So we got to do that. And yeah, winning and losing wasn't a big thing for me anyway. But failure was like the F on the report card. You failed this class, you failed this assignment. And that's how I saw failure to be in life. So if I didn't feel comfortable or like 100% confident, if I didn't have a full body yes joy jumping into something, I would not do it. And unfortunately, I missed out on a lot of things in my life because I did not want to fail. There's parts or points in my life I remember I would call home or talk to my mom and say, hey, I need your advice on this. I'm thinking about doing this, but I'm not sure. And she'd say, oh, baby, you can do whatever you put your mind to. You can do whatever you put your heart into. Just give it your all and have fun. I realized I was just like, baby, just like this other. So that's how I saw failure. It's like that F, but then I think when I would ask my mom about, like, I'm thinking of joining this, or I want to do this, but I'm not sure. I don't know if I was like subconsciously yearning for that statement, like you can do anything you put your mind to. If I was looking for this affirmation or this boost of encouragement or whatever from her, but I did tend to say, yeah, I can do that after I would hear that from her. I don't know. It worked and it was cool. But like I said, failure did keep me from doing a lot of things in my life because of this fear of not being the best, not succeeding. Being the best is also a really big part of it as well. I don't know, as some would say, it's probably like, it could be the Capricorn in me. I am a very ambitious guy. Like when I set a goal, I am like driven and I want to make it happen. But even in 2016, when I did want to make it happen, I was not confident in who I was as a person, I think. In addition to being confident in having a podcast in which I could do this. Also in 2016 I guess that was like a big moment. I started to figure out my purpose, what I really wanted to do here on earth, and that was to be a health and wellness coach. It started to, just like roll down that pathway of coaching. Well, Wes then went to become a personal trainer. We're like on this huge health and wellness life kick, which I mean, it's definitely my lifestyle. But we started a business, and in like 2017, Open Door Wellness. And some of you may have heard of it. I've seen it. I was doing health and wellness coaching. Wes was doing personal training, and together we were leading group fitness classes on a campus as well as in the community at like parks around the city. But I had a huge hesitation to starting this business. Well, one, I didn't go to school for business. I went for education. I didn't really know anything about business, what that meant to be an entrepreneur, to have this business, and don't even bring in taxes, So we did a lot of research. We did a lot of studying. And I was like, okay, but there's this statistic that the majority of businesses don't succeed. Like, they're not going to get past like 2 years. Again, the number one definition, lack of success, failure. And I did not want to be another one of those businesses. So there's a lot of pushback. There's a lot of fight, but we made it happen. It went well. We were having fun. We did have another job on the side, so it wasn't like the full-time thing, but decided to make it the full-time thing and move to the city, move the business, and grow it there. Well, wasn't quite prepared for that. but we pushed. It was like, okay, we can still make it happen. Well, 2020 came around and we ended up closing the business and joining a bigger company that was growing. We didn't have to do a lot of the marketing and getting clients. It just, we just had clients, which was great. But I had the thought of, oh shoot, did we fail? Did we fail this business? Did we fail as business owners? Did we fail? I I I went back and forth because I started to think, well, we tried it, we did it. It was super fun, and now here I am with this other company, still coaching, not having to worry about a lot of the other details that it comes with being a business owner. So I like huge kudos to our business owners, and I look forward to meeting with them on the podcast as guests in the future. I 2021, also, no, 2020. So I also started therapy again. I had a therapist like in college, and I was like, maybe I think I need to do this again. And we got to talk through what it meant to have that business and to then close it, how I felt before, during, after, and just reflect, sit in the feelings and notice and name them as well. And it came down to, we tried it. Yes, had dreams, had goals of where we wanted to take it, and it didn't. And it brought me to where I was at that time, working with a bigger company, having experience coaching, which was great going into this. So I started to change my mindset, to reframe my mindset, to, I think, acknowledging or redefining what failure meant to me. This continued while I was health coaching with this company. I would meet with clients and we would do goal setting. So 3 times a week, getting up 6 a.m. and going to the gym one time. That's the goal. That's like the example we're on with. 3 times a week, getting up at 6 a.m., at least one of those times actually going to the gym. Now, whether you work out or don't work out, whatever. After a week or two, we come back, maybe 3 weeks, and say, how did it go? And they might say, it was great. I got up 3 times a week, went once a week, everything was perfect. They may also go, well, I got up 2 times a week at 6 a.m., but didn't, or even 3 times a week, but didn't actually get to the gym. So if you could think of it, okay, you got up, didn't go to the gym. Cool. And typically, we focus on that part where what we did not do, going to the gym, where we forget to look at what did happen, what was also part of that goal, getting up in the morning. So there's still this win and recreating or creating new pathways in the brain to work towards this habit. Because one of the goals is to build a habit of getting up in the morning. Additionally, next step would be going to the gym. But there's a mindset of all or nothing. The goal was all of that, and I did not accomplish all of it, lack of success, but I did only some of it. And so we would talk through that, and I just realized as I kept talking with them about, like, it's not an all or nothing. We can celebrate this and then learn from this and try something different, that I was like, okay, how am I coaching people on this, but I'm not practicing it in my own life? That was the big revelation for me, is I coach people and we talk about the goal and the successes and what else we can do to move them forward towards the ultimate goal. But for me, it was like it didn't exist. It wasn't possible. So in 2021, if you're following the timeline, 2016 to 2020 to 2021, actually, doesn't matter. We're going to come back. We're coming back. 2021, my word of the year was try, fail, try again. And that's kind of how I coached with people. We're trying this. If you want to use the word fail, sure. For me, it's like that part, getting to the gym, for me, would be a fail, but we will try again. And so that was my word of the year for 2021. And a lot of things came out of that. In 2020, I started an online yoga teacher, 200-hour yoga teacher program that I really struggled with. And I remember in 2021, I was reading over my journals recently to just refresh myself of when this mindset shift happened. But in 2021, I decided not to continue with the online yoga teacher program. It's like I have tried to restart this over and over and over. Basically, like every month is like, okay, back to the beginning. Let's start again. When I should have just picked up where I was, I suppose, when I think about it, but I just felt like I was forgetting things that I had already watched or read, and I needed to start from the beginning. But what I further learned was that I just couldn't do it online. I needed something in person. And so in that year, after trying, after failing, after trying again, I said, I need a new way of doing this. And that's when I did it in person. And then I graduated, in 2022. Oh my gosh, or was that 2023? It was 2020. What year is it? Wow. Well, I know I had a big revelation in 21. So then in 2022 is when I finally decided to do the yoga thing. That's just an example of that all or nothing shift that I had, where I needed to say, okay, I'm not failing on the ultimate goal. And I think that's a big part too, was the ultimate goal of becoming a yoga teacher was still there. I tried the online program. It didn't work. I needed to try something different. Let's try it in person and see if that gets me to the ultimate goal. And let me tell you, game changer. Because it doesn't have to be all or nothing. When we reframe, again, so I posted on Facebook and I asked some people, what does failure mean to them? Because I needed to know. I'm like, I'm at this point now where I understand what failure means. I had been looking at quotes about failure and learning, like, oh, failure, it means to try again. Failure doesn't mean you just stop. And I was like, okay, but when did people learn this? Was everyone like me? Like, it's an all or nothing, like failure means you're done? Or did other people just ultimately just skip all of that altogether? And what I found out was that there's both. This other person said it means it's another opportunity to try something new. Or failure is an opportunity to try again and learn something about yourself that otherwise you would not have ever really known. Failure is all about failing forward. I know things won't always go the way I hoped, and I strive to learn and grow from those experiences. And I was just like, okay, work. People are also have learned this over time. I remember talking to my friend Jenny, who was like, failure? And I, nothing prompted, just, we're at dinner. What does failure mean to you? And she struggled, and I was just like, failure. And it was just like, dead ass relevant to me, or I just like realized like failure does not even like, it's not even in some people's vocabularies. It's like, whoa. And basically all my life I've been thinking like failure is not an option in this of like, you cannot lose. It's not an option. I'm getting into the dessert here. The dessert again is like that final piece, word of suggestion or tip. But I also want to say about this area of growth, because I had realized that was the saying for me. I did talk to my mom and I said, hey, for forever, for all of my life, but I said, you always say failure is not an option. And I guess I never understood what that meant. I have a definition of what that meant, but it's a different definition now. And I'm curious to know what that meant from your mouth, what you meant by that. Can we talk about, first of all, the growth that had to happen for me to have that conversation? Because growing up, you didn't question your parents. But what she told me was basically the complete opposite of what I had thought, which is wonderful that she didn't mean that you could not fail. She meant was, if you don't try, then you're failing. You're failing yourself. To have a goal, but not even put it set forward, a leap of faith, if you will, to try it, you've already failed. And that is what she believes to not be an option, that you should at least try. For my last tip, like, I found this on Instagram and it really sat with me. You're not perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall short of your own expectations at times. You'll have moments you fail in things you are, quote, supposed, unquote, to be able to do. It's part of being human. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. Learn the lesson and move on. And that sits with me because that is my story. Or that's where I am now. There's another one that said, I don't understand why everyone is afraid of failing when it hurts so much more to miss out on everything that you dream of because you lack the courage to try. I wouldn't say I lacked the courage, but I did lack the confidence to do it. I'm going to sit in that one. I'm going to sit with that one because confidence, courage, I'm going to sit with that. But to the point that it hurts so much more to miss out on everything that you dream of. I am so grateful for people who have pushed me to do things, who have believed in me to do things like this podcast. I didn't have the confidence, and I think that also lacked the knowledge of what it took to become podcaster, which I don't think back then we were calling it that, but to have this online presence. I loved going live on Facebook when that first happened. And I was like, ooh, like, don't want to like overdo it on Facebook with lives. Where else can I do it? And then it's like YouTube. But I did miss out on quite a few things because I lacked that confidence, that courage to make it happen. And if that's you, I challenge you to make a list of all of your dreams, to make a list of all the things that you want to do. And maybe write down why you're not doing them. what's holding you back from making that happen? And then decide, like, is that realistic? Can I still do this, but I'm holding myself back? If it's because of emotions or fear, but you have the means to make it happen, take the leap. Take the leap. You can take out the word try, because if you do it, you do it. There was one person who said, I don't try. I either have done it or I don't do it. Now, whether it was done the way I planned it to have been done, I did do it. And I thought that was a really interesting take. And I appreciated that aspect as well, that reframe as well. So I like to leave the episode with the final sip. And this is just like a one word or one sentence to leave you with, the listener, to kind of like sit with, resonate with. And that would be to try, fail, try again. Remember, to the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. Go out, live long, live boldly, live with courage. And I'll catch you on the next episode of the Feed the Soul podcast.